Hello, my name is John Cooksey and welcome to Fun with CHROMA KEY. In this videotape, we're going to take you step by step through all different things you can do with CHROMA KEY. Large broadcast facilities and television stations all over the country use CHROMA KEY to do some amazing things. And now you can do this too. With CHROMA KEY, you can go from a background like this to any other background you want. You can be anyone you want, be anywhere you want, do anything you want with the magic of CHROMA KEY. Over the next minute or two, we're going to show you clips of CHROMA KEY in action, and these are things that you're going to be able to do after you watch this video. So sit back and get ready for a wild ride as we take you through the wonderful world of Fun with CHROMA KEY. I think the biggest question in the whole arena of CHROMA KEY is how do you light for CHROMA KEY? I'm not getting a perfect image. I must be doing the lighting wrong. Well, sometimes you could do all the best lighting in the world and it's still not going to come out perfect. Lighting for CHROMA KEY is not a perfect science, but we're going to try to explain some of the ways that'll give you the best image possible with lighting. So here we have the CHROMA KEY lighting set up with the inexpensive work lights and one light sort of focusing on me. And it allows us to have a great CHROMA KEY studio at a low cost. If you watch the evening news, so much of the time they just superimpose a background and they use CHROMA KEY, and this is the new hip thing. Instead of having the desk and the whole fancy control room, they're just using CHROMA KEY at the big broadcast news stations. And what's great about that is now you can do a show that imitates what they do without the huge budget. And what we've done is we've hung up some green cloth. You can paint a background or you could use a green cloth. We also have some stands, regular photographic stands. You can get them at Video Gear Shop, B&H, or any place like that. And we have a crossbar with some clamps. And this certainly makes it easy if you're doing CHROMA KEY out on the road or wherever. We decided to use the least inexpensive lighting, so there's no excuses for good CHROMA KEY lighting. This is your stand and lights that are about $35. We got them at Walmart. And what we've done is we've pointed one toward the background of the green light and we've tilted one sort of sideways. And there are many different ways, and you'll see different ways on this tape, or you've already seen different ways to do CHROMA KEY lighting. There's no one exact way. This is the least expensive one. So we have 500 watt quartz halogen work lights pointing to the background. As a matter of fact, if we can get to the green screen, I'll turn all these lights off. We're just going to leave one little light on so you can see. So we have one light going on the background from this angle and one light going on from this angle. Now, you got to be careful. I'm not going to be standing back here and casting shadows. If I'm going to be back farther, we're going to need to move the lights closer to the background. But because I'm going to be up here, it's okay to have the lights throwing the background there and not affecting me here. But if you're going to be real close, limited on space, you want to move your lighting closer to the background. So we're going to pull it away, diffuse it a little bit, because I'm going to be up here. And then the second light, be careful, these are hot. We're going to tilt a little, so it'll be like a side lighting. It's also taking care of a little CHROMA KEY at the far angle, but it also fill me with side lighting. We don't want to put it too much to the side because it'll be too harsh. So it's sort of pulling double duty. And we'll do that on this side. So we have two lights lighting the background and two lights, the other two lights sort of side lighting but also filling in the background, acting as double duty. And tilt them a little more toward me. If you have a small room, another thing you can do is tilt them toward the ceiling. The bounce of a white ceiling, especially a low ceiling, will reflect all around and give you a nice soft light also. We have white carpet here and that'll help a little bit. So we do that. And then for my main light right now, so now I'm lit to be CHROMA KEY'd in the background. And for my main light right now, we have a soft light, which is a couple $100, just shining down toward here. Now, if you can't afford a couple $100, we recommend another one of these quartz halogen lights and a shower curtain or some kind of diffuser in front. If you can afford a more expensive diffuser, stay right there, I'll show you. This is a pop-out diffuser silk that photographic companies make, and they make them in all thicknesses. This is a thin one, but just to show you what happens here. See, if you have this, hang this in front of just an inexpensive work light, and we doubled it, but you don't have to double it if you get the thicker ones. You can see it makes a nice diffused soft light. And soft light is important on your subject because the less harsh it is, the better looking your chroma key will be. So you hang these in front of your work lights. I can show you a clip here from Digital Lighting Magic where we use the shower curtain. And a shower curtain or something hanging in front of a harsh light will give a nice diffused light. For the backgrounds, you don't necessarily at all need diffused light. The background green will diffuse it. You just need to angle them in a way so you're not casting a shadow on the background. A little bit of shadow is okay. You just don't want a real harsh shadow. So your total cost of this setup is $39 for one set of lights, $39 for another set of lights, and then a third set of lights with a shower curtain would be another $50 with a shower curtain, or spend the $200 and get the professional softbox. Once you get into chroma key for a while, you're going to find that when you bring people and put them in front of a green screen, a lot of times they get really uncomfortable. Well, one way I overcome this is I try to make sure we have some props around, whether it be a hat, a feather boa, a blow-up guitar, any kind of unusual clothing or something that people can use to either hold or put on and really let their inhibitions go. It makes the whole chroma key image look a little bit more realistic, a little bit more fun, and loosens up your subjects, which is really important because you'll get a much better display of emotion and action if they have some props with them. If I had to pick one prop for a chroma key that I thought would do well in a bunch of situations, it would be foam like this. You could probably create the top of a little doom buggy or a little safety belt for a roller coaster. Roller coasters are really fun. As a matter of fact, we're supplying you footage with the Fun with Chroma Key package. You could have a roller coaster support this way, or support like this, or support like this, and they could be a lot of fun, allowing you to ride a roller coaster without having to wait in line. The other thing that you may want to do with chroma key is throw a cloth on the ground. You can certainly get some great effects by doing this. Now, if you throw the cloth on the ground, you can also put some kind of a table or a bench over it. If you have high ceilings, you can shoot from above. If you have diffuse light like we did at the convention center, you can shoot from above if there's some railing above, and putting a seat underneath makes it so when you shoot you can be flying in the air or whatever, and this chroma key will key out. Now, you'll notice these dark areas here are going to give you trouble. So the wrinkles like this are not really going to give you trouble. The dark areas will give you trouble. So when in doubt, you want to spread it out as evenly as possible to find those dark areas. I'm going to show you something that we have. It costs a little bit extra money, but it's well worth it. We try to light the background, the lower part, with my small Fresnel. Here it is. This is a Fresnel light. It's a focusable light, and these things cost about $250 with a stand. This happens to be a little 300 water. And what's nice is you could use this as an individual light to light up any one part of the set. You can expand it a little to go wide or tight, and they're also nice for doing interviews. So If I want to, I can just use this light, lower the stand, and use it just to kick up that area. They also have barn doors where you can really focus it in. The most important thing about lighting for chroma key is you don't want, say, this lighting to be a whole bunch brighter than your lighting in the background. You want to make it even. So if I'm lighting down here and it looks to be a little brighter than the rest, I may have to pull it back a ways. Or I may have to add a dimmer. Or I may have to put the barn doors in. Or I may have to bring it up a little bit. Or I may have to add a diffuser. Anything to get the light relatively even. And to avoid the folds which can cast shadows. The best way to make sure this works, again, is to have a digital mixer of sorts to bring it through and test if you really want to learn good chroma key. The digital mixers, you can get them off eBay used for like $500 for an MX1 by Videonics. A company called Edirol has a new one out for about $1,000. Panasonic has a MX20, and they also have a version that's discontinued called the AVE55, which is basically the exact same thing as the MX20, except it uses RCA instead of BNC jacks. And you'll find those on eBay every once in a while for $400 or $500, but they're the exact same thing as the MX20. And once you get into chroma key and you notice that you can get a nice even lighting, then the next thing is to remember that your subject should be lit a little bit brighter than your background. So your background can be nice and even, but you don't want it to be so harsh that your foreground is not bright. And if you need it brighter, then you want to move the lights that are focusing on your subject more toward the subject, or reduce the amount of light that's going on your background. If you don't have any lighting for chroma key, we suggest you start on an overcast day outside. Right now it's sort of partly cloudy here, but the sun is setting behind a mountain. So if it's not an overcast day, get up early in the morning at like 6:15 or after 4 or 5 o'clock when the sun's setting. Hopefully you have a little mountain like we do behind us, and you want nice even lighting. The more even the lighting, the less harsh, the better the chroma key. Now let's suppose it's a harsh day, you gotta get chroma key done fast. Well, if there's any place that's an overhang or a giant side of the building casting a shadow, or in this case, follow me in here, a parking garage. This kind of thing is ideal because you're getting the sun in an indirect way, so even if it's a bright, harsh day, you're getting really nice even lighting. And this will allow you to set up a pop-up chroma key background or do interviews for some kind of event or anything and have nice lighting. These kind of lights up here, these sort of mercury halide things, can cause you a little bit of problem, but most of the time they won't, as long as you have a good auto white balance on your camera. Nice inside of a parking garage or any area like this is a great way to do chroma key without having the sun hit you directly. Oftentimes I get asked the question, will wrinkles in my chroma key cloth affect the output that I'm producing on video? And believe it or not, most of the time the wrinkles will not have an effect unless they're casting an obvious shadow on the background. It's not something you really have to worry about. I take chroma key cloth out all the time and don't iron it or anything and hang it up, and it works perfectly. Remember, the little wrinkles will be accepted by the whole image of chroma key. It's just if it's a real severe wrinkle causing a shadow that you have to worry about. And then 99 times out of 100, the wrinkles make no effect at all, and you can hang up your cloth and do fantastic chroma key, wrinkled or purely pressed. A lot of people, when they get started with chroma key, have a tendency to put all their subjects on a straight imaginary line, and that's okay. But if you want to have a more realism or more depth, I do encourage you to experiment with your subjects, taking one or two of them and staggering them in relationship to your background. In other words, suppose you have two subjects. You may want to have one closer to the lens and one closer to the background wall without causing a shadow. What this does is adds a little bit more realism and allows people to almost feel that the virtual set or the background is really part of the action instead of just lining everybody up straight. So I urge you to experiment with your subjects and staggering them in relation to your lens and the background to create a more three-dimensional effect. I think if there's one thing people like to do with chroma key that's really exciting, it's making people fly like Superman. And to do this, you just put a table down with some green cloth over it and have the green cloth in the background. Make sure you light your green cloth on the table now with a separate light, because it may end up turning a different tinge of green because it's not lit by the background, so you may need a special light on it. Have a person lie on the table, use a fan if they have long hair, and all of a sudden you have a person flying through the air with clouds in the background or whatever. One of my favorite tips for chroma key videographers is be aware of their eye line and how it can add more realism to your chroma key. Now, what am I talking about? What I'm talking about is your subject standing in front of a chroma key background. They could just be staring to the lens like I am doing, or they can be looking up in the sky or looking down, depending on what their background is. For example, this particular shot right here of a presidential news conference, I was looking down, almost to the carpet, but you wouldn't know it. Gave the illusion that I was high up at the podium and I had a bunch of imaginary people in the audience that you couldn't even see. All this is because of the eye line was directed downward to match up with the chroma key background that I had instead of just looking at the camera. So having your subject look in different areas and not just straight ahead, but areas that relate to the background will give it a lot more realism and you'll have a lot of fun. One fun thing to do with chroma key is to sit on a virtual chair, a chair that doesn't really exist. And the way you do that is you're going to have your normal chroma key background, but then you're going to have a stool or crate or milk crates or boxes or something that you can sit on that matches the same height as the artificial painted chroma key chair. And the way to do this, the easiest way, is to have a chroma key mixer or a mixer and use a monitor to line up your chair with the green covered stool, and just pan your camera or tilt your camera up and down till they both match up. So now when you walk onto the chroma key set and sit on that green stool, it's going to look like you're sitting on the artificial chair that was painted in the chroma key background. It takes a little bit of practice, but once you practice, you can do a great job. You might have seen some chroma key backgrounds that look like a news set and then somebody sitting at a desk and wonder how they do that. How do they get the chroma key in front and in back of you? Well, it's really easy. All it requires is a chroma key sheet or green wall in the background, and then for the foreground you either need a green piece of wood, or in this case we had a cloth in front of us, and we angled the cloth at a perfect level to key up with the foreground desk. So what happens is you become invisible from the waist down, but that's where the desk is, and it allows you to superimpose between the background and foreground. Here's an example right here, and the secret is making sure that your desk is level with where people are putting their hands on the artificial desk you have put in front. You could tend to overdo it by having it too high or too low or too left or too right. And this is where a good digital mixer with chroma key comes in, because in real time you can make sure that desk is exactly in the right place, and you'll be able to then later maybe do more of a fine-tuning job in Adobe Premiere or Final Cut, but having that mixer allows you to make sure everything is lined up relational in real-time live chroma key. If you have a big green or blue wall somewhere in town, or you have a big green or blue cloth that you can take outside, one fun thing to do is get a convertible, or sometimes it'll work with a regular car if the lighting is right, and put it in front of that background. Then create your own chroma key background of driving through the city, or you may have one that we have, you can try it, and superimpose your car driving through the city just by pulling it up against a green wall or green background. This is a lot of fun, and remember, a convertible works better. In this next section, we're going to look at ways that you can use chroma key green cloth or chroma key green paper in windows to get some very interesting interior and exterior effects. You might have seen music video or different kind of television shows where you see a wall of monitors, and the monitors always look so good and everything's so pretty. Well, it's hard to videotape monitors and make them look so good. So one thing that broadcasters will do is a chroma key kind of effect. And what they do is they either put a green cloth or green paper on the screen and just videotape the monitors with the power off. And the chroma key cloth or the green paper on the screen. The great thing about this is that once you videotape that green, you can now replace it with a video image behind, and you get that effect of the video wall. The image comes out perfect, and you don't have to worry about any of those scan lines. And it's an interesting, fun chroma key effect.
Editing mistake in my baby.
Did you ever see those commercials on TV where everything is in black and white, yet one thing stands out in color? Well, that's done using the chroma key function, and it's not that hard. Steve Bolander is going to explain this step by step right now, how to do it using a digital video mixer.
Another stunning chroma key effect is called color blocking, where the entire video picture is black and white, except for one item that remains in living color. With the same video source assigned to both video buses, go to the effects table, select the B bus, and use the chroma level to remove all color from that bus. Turn on the chroma key mode, press the set button, and then place the preview monitor's cursor over the object whose color you want to have showing through. Press the enter button, and then exit the set mode by pressing the chroma key button again. Engage the effects button on the B bus, and everything will go to black and white, except the object whose color we told to chroma key its way through. Pressing the auto take button will deliver this effect over to your editing VCR and output monitor.
A lot of people ask the question, is it better to use green or blue for a background in chroma key? In the early days, people used blue, and now they seem to switch more to green, so You might be asking yourself, which is better? Well, generally speaking, with the new digital cameras, green works a little bit better because of the composition of the light values of green. I'm not going to go into the whole digital electronic reason why green's a little bit better, but generally speaking it is. The other reason is blue jeans and blue backgrounds tend to mash into each other, and we don't want that to happen. So when in doubt, use green. However, we've also had people that had school colors that are very close to green chroma key background, and they've had to use blue. The answer is either one works, but if you had your preference, green tends to work a little bit better and tends to blend less with some of the color combinations that people would wear on their clothes. One thing I like to do in the whole area of chroma key is look around in nature and see if there's some natural colors around that you can take advantage of to do some unique chroma key effects. An example of this is a blue sky. If you videotape a nice scene with a blue sky, you can put some images in there and get a nice chroma key montage effect that's ideal for a music video or some kind of recap. The green grass, if you get it at a distance, you can experiment with using that as a chroma key background to fill with something else. It's sort of an odd kind of effect, but it's definitely worth playing around with because it's a nice natural way to get chroma key without bringing a bunch of cloths around. Now, going back to the blue sky, if you really want to make the sky bluer, it's not blue enough, consider getting a polarizer filter. These filters, if you turn them the right way, will make the sky a little bit bluer. The sky is bluer, it makes it easier to superimpose something against the blue background. Using chroma key, you could take something like a big billboard and use it for a commercial that your client has. Say they have a billboard out in the middle of the road, and you can key in behind one of the colors of it and take a standard billboard and sort of make it action-oriented. Here's an example. A lot of times you've seen these movies where the person's real small and they have some big giant thing in the background, and you think, how can I afford to get a big wall or a big green backdrop that big enough to key someone in on? Well, you don't necessarily have to do that. One of the secrets to this is simply videotape the person on a green background big enough to cover them and then a little some, then put that green background in a corner and merge it with a camera shot of just green cloth. So now you have the person in sort of a picture-in-a-picture merged in with a bigger picture of green, and it will blend seamlessly when you do the chroma key if the two greens are pretty close together. Now, this is probably best done in a program like Final Cut Pro, Adobe Premiere, or Canopus, or any of the systems that really do well with resizing picture-in-a-picture and blending like that. And it takes a little bit of experimentation, but once you get it figured out, you can do a fantastic kind of Land of the Giants thing that will impress everybody. Tape is an ideal way to store your chroma key backgrounds. The one disadvantage is you may have to put it on pause because your subject will need to be up there longer. The problem with that is decks after a while will shut off your pause, and it's not good for your tape head. So we suggest you take some of your virtual set backgrounds, whether you've created them yourself or bought them, and bring them over to DVD. Now, DVD will allow you to indefinitely pause the image, and if it's a virtual set still background, it doesn't really matter. The only disadvantage with DVD is, in theory, DVD is not quite as good quality, but if you're just doing a still image, probably no one would ever notice the difference. I don't even think I would. So I'm recommending you take any chroma key backgrounds you have on mini DV and you put to DVD, especially if you're going out in the field or at some kind of event, and you're going to be doing some kind of live chroma key. It allows you to call up your backgrounds instantly and leave them up there for as long as you want. For about $50 or $75 in your local paper on eBay, you could pick up a manual or automatic treadmill, taking off the side arms. You have yourself a fantastic walking platform that you can use to substitute different backgrounds in and create chroma key that allows you to zoom through a city or walk through a city or anything that requires walking and making it more realistic. Here's some examples here. Million-dollar production studios around the country have servo-controlled virtual sets. This is sort of a chroma key situation where as the camera zooms in or out or moves left to right, the virtual set follows. Now, this is a real expensive process and it's way beyond yours or my budget. However, you can simulate it if you practice with your camera slowly zooming in and slowly zooming out on a subject, and then do the same kind of thing with a background that you've created by taking the same camera and slowly zooming in and out, or in or out on the background, and then matching those two up. The way to do this, you will need like an MX-20 or an MX-1 or one of the mixing consoles, and you want to watch your subject against the background, and as the background starts zooming back, you will then start pulling your camera back. So it takes a little practice, but you can sort of simulate that effect they get in the multi-million-dollar studios. It's not going to be perfect, but it's a nice little fun effect. I know a lot of the time I really want to fool people into thinking the background is totally not chroma key at all and it's really real. And to do that, I make a few purposeful choices beforehand. And here's what they are. Number one, try to get a background that matches the color of your background cloth or wall. For example, if you use green trees or forest or this kind of thing and you're chroma keying against a green background, that green edge will be hidden by that green background. Likewise, if you like to get yourself against a blue sky or something with a lot of blue in it, you may want to use a blue background cloth, and then when you key into the sky, that blue edge will be hidden. A lot of these tricks out there make a big difference. Another trick, using hats, using hoods, using anything to hide the hairline. A lot of times the hairline is fragmented. There's little pieces of hair going every which way. The chroma keyers don't necessarily always know what to do with that, especially if you're using like a standalone mixer. These don't have the feathering or the dithering that you can get on Adobe Premiere or Final Cut Pro. So you want to be especially careful about the hairline. Either use hair gel to mat it down, or you'll notice in this video I've been using hats. It just makes chroma keying easier. Another way to make sure your background and foreground blend as seamlessly as possible is to use earth colors. You'll notice I'm having sort of a khaki colored pants and I'm having sort of an earth colored green. This is important because these blend better than other colors. If you're using white, we recommend sort of an off-white, or wearing a t-shirt like this, because it's sort of got a grayish tint to it, and gray will work better than white. Red is okay, it's a little bright, but it'll work. Other colors that won't work though are black. Is not a good idea to wear a black shirt or vest, especially with digital cameras, because it won't blend in too well in the background. And things with a lot of dark stripes like this, the camera may not be able to make heads or tails out of it too much. So you want to avoid the black and dark, and the red is sort of okay, but you want to stick more to the earth colors, the sort of light tans, the grays. These will key into your background easier. If you can, whether it's inside or outside, we definitely recommend that you separate yourself from the background, so give yourself a lot of room. Don't stand so close that you're going to cast the shadow. Now remember, there's no such thing as perfect chroma key unless you have millions of dollars to spend. Most chroma key systems that you're going to have, a few $1,000s for a camera, a few $1,000s for an edit system, are not going to be a fancy system that allows perfect chroma key like you see on the national news. You're going to have some edging. So what you need to do is be able to minimize that edging. Now, blonde hair can be a real problem. So blonde hair, sometimes if you have to have a person wear a hat or tie it back or put a scarf on, it's a little bit of a compromise. Certain colors can be compromised when you're doing chroma key also. So black or the color close to the background like green may not work well. And you really want to watch your different colors and watch your patterns and experiment. If you have a mixer like the Videonics MX1 or MX Pro, or we use the Panasonic MX20, this is a great way to learn about chroma key, because a lot of people use chroma key in with their nonlinear edit systems, which means that they think they lit it well and then they try to experiment after the fact. What a standalone mixer allows you to do is experiment live on the job. So we're going out to the mixer right now and keying it in, and we can move the lights and see in real time the results. And even if you want to do this for your lighting setup, use that mixer as a reference and then go back later and key in. It's a great way to make sure your chroma key is balanced out, because you're getting real-time results. While we're recording me right here, my staff is actually looking at the monitor and seeing the background, and we've adjusted the lights as best as possible. Yet you're also going to see some edging either around my hair or around the clothes. That's because you're never going to get anything perfect. Now, another way to sort of cheat the chroma key system is to put a background in that's close to the background color that you're using to key on. So we're keying on green, and if you have some forest and trees, you may hit upon one that works really well and doesn't notice the halo or edging that well. Now, here we are with the chroma key crowd here. You know, they're a new band, and we're here in the background. We're going to show you how we light it. Let's turn off all the lights but the backlight, please, the one way in back. So what we've done is we've taken a chroma key screen, and you see we've lit it from behind. And then the other thing that we do is we have a amber gel giving them a little edge. And then if we turn off the amber gel, you can see. Go ahead, Steve. So now, and turn off the other amber gel. I think there's two of them. We have two little lights lighting them. So here they are backlight, and let's put on the soft box, the big soft box here. And then let's put on the second one. So now we're sort of lit from behind, and then one of the second soft boxes is actually helping fill in. Well, I want to show you guys another setup right now. What I want you guys to do is come forward, and would you pull this soft light back, and what we're going to do is use this soft light on the background. And Steve, would you turn off the backlight? So if you're in a situation where you don't or can't backlight, and we've backlit with the inexpensive quartz halogen work lights, and so now the back is lit by a soft light, and we have one light, another medium light on our crew. Okay, so now we've lit from behind from one soft box, and we have this soft box here getting the forward shot, and then that soft box getting the back shot. Now, the other way to light one of these situations is to use this light right here. Yeah, right here. Turn that on and point it at the back. Turn off the soft box, please. I'm just going to show you the least expensive way to do it. Is one 500 watt light on the background. Only the 500 watt light on, please, if you will. Yeah, now point that toward the background. And there we go. This is a good way to light your background, is to light the background first before lighting the foreground, because this allows you to see what you're getting in terms of a picture. And that's one 500 watt quartz light. And you'll notice that it's sort of tapering off to the right, but that's okay. But if you can, you want to use maybe two of those. And so that's our backlit shot. And then let's turn on the soft light, the forward soft light here. And this is chroma keying with two lights. And then if we wanted to use that hair light, let's go ahead and use the hair light. Another good way to test the edges is to get a close-up. So we'll get the close-up on Jeff, and there's his edge around his hair. Okay, and go ahead and let's turn on the other set of 500 watt lights. So we had it backlit before, but now we're going to front light it with the two 500 watts. And do you have that 500 on? Okay. And now it's a really rich green. Steve is going to aim an amber light toward their hair. Now, one other setup that I'd like to show you guys here is what would you do if you had to light this whole thing with inexpensive lighting? And the way to light it with inexpensive lighting, we're going to turn off the softbox, take the two 500-watt light bulbs and put it where the softbox was, and then we're going to light the background with another one of the work lights, and let's see what it looks like. Here we have the inexpensive dual 500-watt quartz work lights with a shower curtain front, lighting up Jeff and Cynthia here, and the background is being lit by one light right here. And you can see we got the background. And there's our background chroma key being lit by one inexpensive light. And turn off the amber light for a second. That's giving a hair light, but we're going to turn it off. And if you only had very little money and a couple quartz work lights, there's one on the back. Turn on the one on the front, please, without the shower curtain on the front. And now let's use the cheap shower curtain on the front. We got a nice diffused look. And then that's the way you would do it with a basic two-light system. Now let's go ahead and turn on the amber. He's running over, that's why the diffuser's off. And there you go. Another thing you should know about chroma key is if you use props like flowers and different things, it can add much more to the realism. Hats, bats, any kind of props. Props are great because they add more three-dimension to chroma key. Now, another thing you can do to chroma key to make it more realistic is move in and out of the scene. So if you have a lot of room in back of you, you could run to the back and then run all the way forward, and it adds depth. If you have 2 or 3 people in the scene, what I like to do, forget about the flowers for now, is have somebody close up and then somebody way in the background, so it adds some depth to the scene and it gives a more realistic approach. And you want to experiment with your backgrounds, and again, if you can get one of those mixers that you can do everything live and practice, that's good. If you can, it's a good idea to get another green sheet to lay on the ground or paint the floor green, because this way you can stand in certain areas and make it appear like you're on a floor. You could even do other things like get the camera from above and make it look like you're hanging above something or swimming or do something. You really want to practice a lot, but don't think that the camera just needs to stay in front of you. It can go above or all different kinds of things. And don't think that you just have to have something on the back wall. You can have something on the ground like we do here. Here we are outside in front of a green screen. This is great for doing chroma key. If you don't have any lights, bring your chroma key background outside, tie it to some trees, or get some helpful assistance, and now you have instant chroma key outside. One other thing that makes it a little bit better is having a reflector on your subject, in this case me. If we pull away the reflector right now, you can see I'm not really as well lit as if we put the reflector on me. And this is a gold reflector, and it adds a little bit of amber edge and helps pop you out from the green screen, making chroma key a little bit easier. Now, if Todd pulls the camera back, keep going, we can see our chroma key set up. We have 2 gentlemen out here and the chroma key, and we're in the middle of the woods. And sometimes you need to have, if you're too much in the sun, you need to move to get in the shade, or if we can hold that one over, keep the camera rolling here. You could just give me this, and Cynthia can demonstrate over here. If I'm too hot in the sun, meaning too bright, she can hold that up, even it out, or you could get a stand or somebody who's taller or shorter, it doesn't matter. You just have to adjust. You're doing a great job. And then if you could bring the reflector on my face there. And now we have blocked from the sun. We have nice even shadow on the back of the chroma key, allowing us to get a great chroma key shot. Let's pull away the reflector and let's put it back again, please. You pull away both. There's the raw shot. Now let's do the overhead blocker. And let's bring in the reflector again onto my face. A little more powerful. There we go. And so now we have even lighting on me, chroma key in the background, and the reflector. So outside, it's better if it's an overcast light, but if it's really harsh, just get the overhead and the reflector and you'll do fabulous. As you can see, I'm flying with the other birds. It's really not that hard to do. With CHROMA KEY, we have the cloth. I have this extra cloth on the ground, and you can do all sorts of crazy things to just, make your head float and disappear, cover yourself with the CHROMA KEY cloth. So we highly recommend an extra piece of CHROMA KEY cloth. If you have a virtual set with a stool in the set, a cartoon piece of, you can move your stool with the green cloth over it and sit down right on that pretend stool. I mean, there's a lot of really fun things that you can do by having the cloth in the background and the cloth that you can move around. So we highly recommend, as well as having a cloth on your background and a cloth on the ground, to have an extra piece of cloth to do some fun, wild effects. Here's our green screen. It's on the back wall of this large room, and we've put some clamps up to hold it in the background, a little bit of tape. For the floor, we just put down another piece of green cloth. For the lights, we use 2 big soft boxes and 2 300-watt lights bouncing up at the ceiling to add some fill, which also reflects on the back wall. So we get an overall green that works pretty well. The important thing is that there's a lot of depth for our subjects to walk back and forth. Let's take a look at a few examples we did using this. Thanks for joining us today on Fun with CHROMA KEY. If you have any questions, comments, or ideas, feel free to email us at the address on the screen. You know, CHROMA key can be exciting and rewarding, but most of all, CHROMA key can be fun. So experiment a lot, because the more you experiment, the better you get. My name's John Cooksey, and we look forward to seeing you on another videotape. In the meantime, happy video making.